Hi, okay, today my review is on the Vampire Academy series by Richelle Mead, and that's a 6-book series, and she's not doing any more books in this series. And I have the final book here, and this is the UK cover. I'm not mad about it because it's very, very red, but as you can see, so the books are a really good length. And I like that. I don't like when books are too short. And overall it's a really good series. I think it's one of the better vampire teen kind of novels out there. And I think the first 3 books are really, really good. But unfortunately the final 3 books aren't as good. They're a bit disappointing. They're a bit cheesy in places, and they drag on a bit, like there's not enough action or excitement. But besides that, I think it's a really good series, and it's about a girl called Rose, and she's about 17, and she lives in the book is from her point of view, and she lives in a world that's made up of good vampires called Moroi and evil vampires called Strigoi. I think I'm pronouncing them right. And then she is a damper, which is a half vampire, half human, and they're really strong, and most of them...
That's in the books I'm reading.
Yeah?
Damper.
Yeah, there are a lot of books. So, dampers, most of them train to be guardians, which are like bodyguards for the good vampires. So it kind of sounds confusing with all the different types of characters, but it's interesting. I think it's one of the most original kind of vampire series out there, because they have a completely different take on the vampire lore and the vampire mythology. And even though the kind of vampires and dampers are highly mentioned in it, the whole vampire mythology takes a backseat to the actual story of the characters, which I like. Like after a while you forget that they're all like vampires and dampers, because their actual storylines between the characters themselves is so kind of riveting and interesting that it makes it a good read. And basically it's about Rose, the main character, and her best friend is a Moroi, so that she's a good vampire, Lissa, and she basically wants to protect Lissa with her own life. So they run away from this kind of school academy, but in the first book we see them be found and they're brought back to the academy. Then over the 6 books we see the kind of problems and situations Lissa and Rose get into as best friends, and we see Rose trained to be a bodyguard or a guardian for Lissa, and of course there's a love interest, and there's struggles, and there's loss, and there's triumphs, but overall it's a really good series, and as I said, the first 3 books are brilliant. I love them. The final 3, they're not as good, but that's just what I think. But overall I think you'll enjoy it, so I do recommend it. So that is my relatively spoiler-free review. And now if you don't want to know any of the details or spoilers, you can press back up now. Okay, so on to my more spoiler-filled review. So as I said, the storyline overall is quite good and original. I actually feel really sorry for Rose, the damper, because she has to give up her life to become a guardian for Lissa, and I was kind of hoping by the final book she decides she doesn't want to be a guardian. She decides she deserves her own life, and she realises she wants to have her own life, but the author obviously goes, the traditional cheesy way, and Rose becomes guardian. But I thought it would be more original and more of a bold move if she decided that Rose wants her own life and she doesn't want to be a guardian. But it didn't go that way anyway. So onto the characters. I think Rose is a good character. She's the typical kind of strong and courageous and kind of funny, witty character. Sometimes she's a bit too kind of combative and argumentative. That gets her into trouble, but I think overall she's a good protagonist to have in the series. Her best friend Lissa, I'm not crazy about. She's a bit too whiny and too weak, and I guess I kind of resent her because Rose has to give up her life to protect Lissa, so that kind of bugged me. The love interest, Dimitri, I think he was, you know, he was a good love interest. He's the strong, silent type. But I like the whole idea of him being a teacher. I don't think that's been done a lot before. So, you know, he's 24 and Rose is only 17. So that just kind of makes it a bit more kind of more interesting. And I think they go well together. But then obviously he dies. So he gets killed and he becomes evil vampire in the third book. And I thought this was such a risky and bold move by the author that I really respected her for it, because not other novels or series do this, kill off the main love interest. So I thought this was really, I thought it was a great twist. And, you know, it's like a tragic love story now, and we see Rose having to deal with this. And then obviously in the fourth book she decides to go out and kill Dimitri because he never wanted to be an evil vampire, or Strigoi. And so, you know, she goes through Russia looking for him, and I thought the start of this book was quite dull when she was doing that. But eventually she found him and she killed him, or she staked him, and I thought that's it, you know, she'll move on with her life now, and she'll move on with Adrian, and I really liked Adrian and her. I thought they were sweet together. But no, she didn't stake him properly, so he's still alive and he comes back, and the author just drags it out for another 2 more books, and I just felt this kind of cancelled out all the respect I had for the author, and just cancelled out the whole third and fourth book really, because he just comes back anyway, and she manages to find a way to turn him back into a damper, and you know, it's kind of a cheesy happy ending then, and so that kind of, I preferred it when it was more of a tragic love story than the cheesy happy ending. But yeah, so that's one negative I had. Other characters, I loved her relationship with Abe, her dad. I thought that was a really good relationship, and I loved her and Adrian together. I felt really sorry for him when he saw her and Dimitri kissing, and I think he was like the only character who didn't get proper closure. So Richelle Mead is doing a spin-off series with Sydney from this, who is mentioned in the 4th and 6th book. I do think Adrian will probably pop up in that series because he didn't really have his finishing story. I'm not crazy about spin-off series, so I don't think I'll read that one. But the Vampire Academy, I do think it's one of the better teen series out there, and I do think it would make a good movie, because I hear rumours that there might be a movie made. I think it would be much better than the House of Night series, if anyone read that one. Oh yes, I loved the mental health element to the storyline in the third book. The third book was definitely my favourite. You get to see Rose not having to fight something physical, but something mental, something inside her, and I thought that was really interesting, and I haven't read a lot about that in other books, so I really liked that element to it, and made it much more kind of interesting as a series. So overall I really enjoyed it. Just be prepared to be a little less overwhelmed by the 4th, 5th and 6th book than you were by the first 3, but overall I think you'd enjoy it, and I recommend it to all. Okay, so thanks very much for watching my review.